let's.
You guys sit still, Eric. I don't know what's going on.
Hi, everybody. I'm not, yep, it looks like some of the participants have come on board. Yeah, so now that hi, I'm Gigi Davis. I'm the Job and Internship Coordinator with Piedmont Virginia Community College. We are so fortunate to have Charlottesville City Police Department be nicely represented today to talk about their hiring process and to answer any kind of questions that you might have. We ask that you put the questions in the Q&A more so than the chat. We'll be checking both, but if you can put your questions in the Q&A, that would be fantastic. So I'm going to turn off my camera and let these guys have the floor and introduce themselves. But of course, you can always, if you have any questions for me, you can ask them either in the chat or the Q&A. So thank you all for being here today. And I look forward to learning more about how Charlottesville City Police Department hires, just so that I can then inform future students, because it's a great work opportunity here in town. So let me turn myself off.
Okay, Eric, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Eric Thomas. I'm a corporal with the Charlottesville Police Department, of course, and I'm currently assigned to daylight shift. Been here for 8 years. I'm also one of our negotiators, as well as a bike officer. So I periodically get the exercise on duty. Sometimes get paid really well to do that. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Russ?
Yeah, I'm Sergeant Russell Handy. I've been at Charlottesville for about 13 years. I too am a negotiator. I've been in my current position as a recruiter for about 20 months. Prior to that, I was a patrol officer. That's it.
Captain?
Got to unmute.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can everybody hear me? I'm Captain Durrett. I've been here for...
Captain, we can't hear you.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Very low.
I'll get a little closer.
There you go. There you go.
I'm Captain Durrett. I've been here for... I'm starting my 28th or 29th year. Can't remember. Lieutenant Jones is the most senior, and then I'm number 2. I've been here for quite some time. I'm not originally from here, but...
Still having a hard time hearing you, sir.
How about now?
That's fine.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It's
Just start again.
I've been here for quite some time. Lieutenant Jones and myself are probably the 2 most senior persons in the department now. The face of it is very young. I'm originally not from Charlottesville, but I moved here when I was about 11 years old, and I've called Charlottesville my home since. I love what I do every single day, and I'm fortunate now to be a part of a selection process to get good candidates here that can represent our city and our department well.
Thank you, sir. Hi, my name is Lieutenant Dwayne Jones. DJ's fine. I'm one of the recruiters with the police department. I've been here an awful long time, but I've enjoyed my 30 plus years here in the city of Charlottesville. I've grown to love the city, and I've met some of the best people in the world here in this community. And Russell and I, we work in the office, the recruiting office full time. And we are definitely interested in connecting with students from PVCC. Our desire is to hire more local applicants, people from this community that have a knowledge of the community and the culture and the environment here. It's a great advantage for you. And the fact that you're getting a college education will really help you get your foot in the door here with the City Police Department. And the education you're getting is going to help you, help and shape you be a better officer if that's your career choosing. So I look forward to answering any questions you may have. Obviously, you've got a lot of experience in front of you, and I look forward to chatting.
So do you mind if I ask you some questions?
That'd be great. Yes.
Because, you know, they might not jump in. They might, I think they probably are thinking more that, hey, you would kind of go over the hiring process, the timeline, what exactly you might look for in candidates. So that would be one of my first questions, because it's great that you mentioned that them going to PVCC and taking some of our police science, criminal justice. And of course, from my understanding, that you guys are open to students from all majors. It doesn't matter if they're in the police science or
Correct.
criminal justice program, as long as they have an interest to be involved in law enforcement. But that's where I would say my question would be, what makes a great law enforcement officer, or somebody who's pursuing this career field?
Who wants to step in?
Well, we're looking for people who are outgoing, people who like to give back to the community. Obviously, integrity is big. You know, have to have some good moral issues. I think I've already said just outgoing. Yeah.
And to add what Sergeant Handy said, you know, someone who is willing to have an open mind. You know, this is a profession that's always changing for various reasons, but you have to be open-minded. And Sergeant Handy hit it on the head. You know, if you're an honest person, and the ability to communicate with folks, you'll be a great officer. But yeah.
Cap, we can't hear you, sir. Hey, Captain, we're still having some technical difficulties. Well, so maybe if you call Captain, I'm gonna step in real quick. I would just say that you want to serve your community. That's the most important thing. You know, each day that I come to work and I have the opportunity to meet a new citizen or a new community member, that's probably the highlight of my day, is networking with the community, growing partnerships, and learning from them. Because as I know our department said publicly, you know, we need to interface with the public to solve problems in the community, and they're not all crime problems. There's social issues and economic issues and so forth, but we all play a role in that. And it's really important that we build these relationships. And that's important as you grow in your career as a law enforcement officer, that you create really good community contacts and you treat people with compassion, whether it's a community member or somebody that you've had to arrest for something they've done wrong. So we do need people committed to service, and you have to be compassionate. You have to have a lot of empathy and understanding, because you know, the world is not black and white, and we as law enforcement officers are put in the middle of a lot of different situations that we have to make split-second decisions, and sometimes having that ability and training and education will have you kind of have some insight on how you're going to approach these different circumstances that you're thrown into. So that's, you know, my 2 cents. Captain, can we hear you yet? No, we still can't hear you, sir. Gigi, would you like to?
Yep. Well, there's actually a question already. So in the hiring process, what are the physical requirements? And I do know there is there's a physical component to the training as well, right?
Sure. Can I'll share a screen. I'm going to try. And Gigi, this is basically right off our job post. And then Russell or I can talk about the physical agility test that is related to these physical demands that I'll show you. Okay, Gigi, you've disabled my participant screen saving. So
let me try to fix that. I looked everywhere for that, so let me double check.
Okay, so what I would say, you have general physical demands, which I mean that as a police officer, you're going to be put in a lot of different work environments, which, you know, I'm reading while Gigi picks this up, but it's going to require you to work outside as a patrol officer under different weather conditions, sleet and rain, heat. Of course, you're going to have to wear protective gear. You know, that would be a protective vest, gun belt that carries all your utilities on, and obviously a uniform. And you're going to be out there in the environment. It's not going to be a 9-to-5 office job, although you do have office work. The majority of it's going to be spent out in the field, riding in a patrol car, getting out and walking and interacting with people. You may have a special assignment, where, as Eric mentioned, where you'll ride a bike. You may be on a Segway downtown, or you may be walking a beat, depending on your assignment. So, you know, that's going to cause you're going to have to do walking. There are times where you may have to run and sprint to get to an emergency situation, or pull somebody from a car that's that may be in danger. So these are some of the physical demands. You do have to, you know, have good vision. Our vision standard now, uncorrected, is 2100, but you should have 20/20 corrected vision. You should be able to have distinguished colors so that you could identify objects, lights, signs, suspects, you know, evidence and stuff. You know, and then, you know, those are just general basic, you know, physical requirements. Our law fit test is a standardized test that was developed a long time ago here in Virginia. It's a 1 minute and 36 second completion time test that the course is 150 yards long, and there are 10 obstacles that you have to pass, and you go through each obstacle. And our website has a video of that course that you can view on YouTube, and it's called the Law Fit exam. And we offer opportunities to come out if you want to practice on the course, and we're getting ready in the very near future, at the end of this month and early February, to actually start administering that Law Fit test. And that's a gender neutral test. It's based off of thousands of people that went through the academy, and they tracked their times when they started the academy, and then after they finished the academy, they were given an opportunity to take the test again. And that's how they established the times for males and females. So.
Thank you. And now you can share your screen, even though it's too late. But,
well, I think I covered it, but I will. Let's see if I can just.
Yeah, let's see if it works technology wise. We're all learning about this at the same time. I thought I had the right setting. There we go. See.
Okay, so this is if you go onto our website, there's a direct link to apply to be a police officer at the city of Charlottesville. And this has the job description. It also has the salary. You know, we start out at $21.17 an hour. It's roughly $44,000 a year. And then if you go down through the requirements, we've got all the requirements and demands. It's minimum standards that you have to meet. Special requirements, disqualifiers that would eliminate you from applying or being a police officer right now. A lot of them are time related. There's preferred qualifications that we're looking for, and being a student at PVC is one of those qualifications. And then I just talked about these physical and work demands, and you can go online and check these out yourself. I won't take the time to go back and start talking about them again.
So there is a question in the is what are the policies on tattoos?
Go ahead, Russell.
So we have a lax tattoo policy. You can't have tattoos on the neck, face, or hands. But you can't have visible tattoos. Can't have anything that's obscene, anti-religion, hate groups, tattoos like that. But you can't have visible tattoos.
So I have another question.
Sure.
So what is your timeline? Because I know the police academy is, I think that's in July, right?
It's in July, the first week of July, yes.
And so, and I know that when we set this up, that you were talking about, hey, this is toward the end of your putting these things out there, so that because of how long the process takes. Can you give us a sense of that timeline?
LT?
Yes. Right now, we have an open application process, and we pull applications on a weekly basis, usually on Mondays. So Russell and I will review the newly submitted applications, and then if candidate meets the basic qualifications, we will send you an invitation to fill out a personal history statement and create an account to do that. We base your first stage on that personal history statement. That's where we really gauge the information. The online application is a basic format. We really can't learn a lot other than what the applicant puts on the application. So we need to send you documents and get some information returned from you to better judge your credentials and your qualifications. We are looking to identify our top candidates at the latest in February. We have people in process right now, but it takes on average about 8 to 12 weeks to fully process and hire a candidate once they file the application with Human Resources. And once we get approval to hire you, that's how long it takes. So the earlier we can get your application, the better likelihood that we're going to be able to include you in this process for the July Academy. Even though it sounds like it's a long time away, that time shrinks real quickly for our work group. Typically, agencies take anywhere from 8 to 6 months up to a year, depending on where you're trying to apply to be a police officer. So we have a pretty good time frame that we're working with. We usually put in a minimum of 40 hours per applicant, and that's just to look over your PH and conduct the preliminary investigations to get you started. And then there's a lot of testing that goes on, and Russell and I can talk about that, in more detail if you have questions or Gigi wants us to follow up with that.
Great, thank you. I have another question in the Q&A. What are the options for getting into criminal psychology? I know you guys have a forensics unit with Charlottesville City, so if you guys don't mind describing how much that involves science versus psychology, that would be fantastic.
Anybody want to jump in? I would say you're constantly applying sociology and psychology to your daily workload, your interactions. It's part of the job. We don't have, was the question, do we have a clinical psychologist on staff, Gigi, or?
What are the options of getting into criminal psychology?
Okay. I would say that we at a municipality level, even your largest municipalities, don't have very few of those positions. What I would say is, if you are a student and you want to leverage your experiences in law enforcement to better prepare you for a field in clinical psychology, or dealing with criminals, I think it's a great place to start, because without that baseline experience, you're really not going to know how to practically apply the academics that what you learn in the classroom.
So tied into that, because I have a lot of students go, well, I want to be a detective. I don't want to be a cop on the street. And from my understanding, there's you work up to things. Can you describe that process and what that timeline typically takes for that?
So I'll speak to that. So bottom line is, you want to work the street some, so that you gain experience, the way you talk to folks, learn people in the neighborhoods or the community. You just coming from the academy going to be a detective, you won't be very effective because you got to, some of the cases that we investigate, we deal with the same criminals over multiple times, and you got to gain their respect. You got to learn the ins and out of certain situations. So just coming fresh from an academy, going straight to be a detective, you just won't have that experience or that knowledge. I've been here for 8 years. I came from another department, and there's things I still learn today. Like I said earlier, things are constantly changing. So you're always learning. So, if you're, we typically ask that you're a police officer or a patrol officer for, 3 years so you can learn not only the way to communicate, but how to investigate simple things such as a larceny. Because I can tell you that, investigating a larceny is a lot different than investigating a sexual assault or, a homicide. So, you do have to put in a little bit of work and, do your time on the road in learning.
Thank you.
And Gigi, I would just chime in that, we're one of the few agencies that does allow accelerated process in some of those specialized positions. I mean, generally, I think 2 years is the minimum that you can apply for specialized positions, but after you've been on the streets for a couple of years, you can then apply for these like investigations or specialized teams like CNT or SWAT or some of these other programs. So typically, historically, it's usually a 5-year benchmark, but here in Charlottesville, that's been reduced to about 2 to 3 years.
So I've heard you guys talk about segways and the bikes, the walking, and of course the car, being in the car. I used to see you all on a horse as well. And of course, I oftentimes hear about people being interested in working with a dog, the canine specialty. So can you speak about, I don't know if you still have the horse, but can you speak about those, about working with animals?
You're still kind of muted, sir. So I'll just say that we've expanded our canine opportunities. We now have 3 patrol canines. We have a bomb dog, and we have a service dog that helps people deal with difficult situations. So we've greatly expanded those opportunities. They're usually, when you're assigned a canine, it's usually for the service life of the dog until the dog has to be retired because it's no longer physically able to do what it has to do physically. But that's usually, 6 to 8 years is the average lifespan, I would say, for a lot of canines. And it's a great way to get involved, in the department. And it's competitive. We have a lot of people that want to apply to those positions. And, when you get your feet wet in our agency, you really need to take it upon yourself to start educating yourself and get all the experience you can get both inside and outside the department to leverage that so that you can have opportunities like that.
Can you guys hear me now?
Horses.
We can. It's low, but we can hear you, sir. I can't hear you, though.
Thank you, sir.
Best.
There he is.
Go ahead, sir.
All right. Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yes.
How about that? All right. I'll join back in now.
Okay. So there's a question in the bar that's in the Q&A that says, does the entry-level patrol officer receive a take-home car?
Currently, no. I would say most of our officers and our specialty assignments and our investigators and those that have been here a fairly long time do in fact have take-home cars, but we do not have enough fleet vehicles in the city right now currently to afford everybody to have a car, although that's something that we would all desire. But we don't control our fleet right now, and that's the reason for that.
Do you want to talk about some of the other benefits? Because of course, I know that you guys have an educational benefit that supports them going to school. Not that, of course, everybody goes into this job for the money or the benefits. But can you all talk about that for just a little bit?
Sure, I can just quickly share. Charlottesville, our community is that our department or our city is blessed to have one of the best medical insurance policies in the whole state of Virginia. It's very low rates. The top tier for a new recruit, they would only pay about $36 per pay period to have full medical coverage, and that's comprehensive for anything. Basically, it's the top tier. Very little out of pocket. You'd actually get free dental insurance as a police recruit. You wouldn't have to pay for that. In the plans, I'll share them with you. The plans actually, as you get married or if you have kids, of course, the costs increase. But it's been a lifesaver for me. I can tell you the number of surgeries over the course of almost 31 plus years that I've been here that I've had. I've had the fortunate enough to not have to pay a lot out of pocket. And we do have unlimited sick leave accrual. So Captain Durrett and I have probably 6 to 9 months or more of sick leave on the books that we've accrued over the time of our career. So, which comes in handy if you were to break a leg or a family member were to come ill and you need to care for them. So that's another perk that we have. Gigi, would you like me to just, I can share that if this student would like to see, the costs of the healthcare, I could share that. If that's not a main point, we could talk about our retirement. And I know the hard thing for a college age student is to even contemplate retirement. It's probably the least thing that's ever going to enter your mind right now. But no matter whatever career you choose, when you get into that, probably 5 and 10 years down the road, you're going to start thinking, what does it look like for me when I walk away? What's my next life going to look like? And you can come here and work 25 years at age 50 and walk away and retire and get a pension and get your medical coverage covered for until you reach 65. So that's a pretty big perk that you won't see anywhere else, especially in the VRS system where you pay for your medical after you leave the door. So those have always been two drivers for us, the retirement and the medical. We're always looking to improve our benefits. We're hopeful that, we just got a new city manager announced today, and we're hopeful that the current city council, after we get out of this COVID crisis, will provide us some means to improve and leverage some of the benefits that we want for the agency that we've been exploring.
And I'm under the impression that you guys do have an educational benefit, that you pay for classes to keep going, whether it's for finishing up an associate's degree or doing a bachelor's degree.
Yes, I'm going to try to pull that up now.
And while he's pulling that, can everybody hear me now?
Yes, sir.
We also, while he's pulling that up, when we the city will invest in your education. And with that being said, we also say we want that investment that we're putting into your brain to come back and serve our community in one fashion or another. Community engagements, a well-educated officer, a well-respected officer that gives it pays itself. We get capital gain, if you will, when we start investing in your education. So that's a benefit for us. If it makes any sense to you guys.
Yep, no, that's great. It's totally, that's actually at UVA that, you know, UVA pays a certain amount of dollars, but you're going to stick around for a few years. And so, you know, they give to you and they hope to get something back for that investment. So that totally makes sense.
So I'm still looking for that, and I'll continue. I will say what the captain is referring to is, you have a lot of opportunity to train once you get hired as a police officer, and we're willing to invest in you after that. You get your first 2 years in and you start to grasp the job, and as you start to branch out and look to seek specialized areas within the agency, there's opportunities to get that advanced training, which you'll be able to use for the rest of your life. So, that's the type of investment we're willing to make for you. There's tuition assistance through the city that will help pay for undergraduate and graduate courses. The amount for the graduate course is larger than the undergraduate course. You do have to maintain a GPA of a certain amount to qualify and get that reimbursement and get the tuition paid. And I'll look for that as we go along here.
So I do have a question. I once upon a time worked at Charlottesville High School, and I was amazed how often I had kids who said, I want to go into law enforcement, partly after having spent a little bit of time at Blue Ridge. And it's neat that they actually had a positive experience there, but then they're like, oh, I can't go into that because I had that bad thing that happened to me back in high school, or they're 18 to 20, or, like, the young and dumb kind of time. So how long does that haunt them? And I saw that there was a certain number of years, or how bad did what they do, can you talk about that a little bit? So, because that's where I do see the young and dumb, you're hanging out with the wrong kids, that gets them into trouble. So can you all talk about that for a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. What I would say is most of kids, in high school, you're juvenile. So most of those incidents, you're going to have to reveal to us in the hiring process, but most of those are sealed as long as it's not a serious felony or a domestic type situation, which are, disqualifiers for us, after age 18. We look at each incident on a case-by-case basis. There is no, if you go to what I shared the screen with you, if you go to our job posting website, or if you go to the city police website under employment opportunities, you'll see our disqualifiers listed. So there's a lot of gray in some of the areas that are not permanent disqualifiers, and it's case by case. We understand that the world is changing, and experimental with marijuana and some of these things, and that in itself is not going to disqualify you. Now, there might be a time span that you can't use, like marijuana, before you apply with us, but after that time lapse of 12 months, we will accept your application and consider it.
That's what Governor Northam yesterday at last night's State of the Union, or whatever you call that speech, he was saying that he's advocating for marijuana being legalized, and of course everybody being let go of. So just wondering if that would follow, if that does change, will that be expunged, or like totally that will become null and void in the process?
Well, the city can always have a policy. The policy, can be higher than, a legal standard. But I would say there are many of us in this field, including myself, that feel it's time for those changes. They have hurt a lot of people, both socially and economically. And cause great pain to their families, not being able to drive a car, and so forth. So I'm looking forward to those changes. I would still say that, you know, as we've already talked about, the integrity and the character issues and so forth, you know, even though it's legal to do certain things, you know, say we decriminalize certain drugs, cocaine or crack or heroin, those are some heroin especially is a bad one in this area. We wouldn't be seeking out applicants that were, you know, using heroin on a regular basis. It's not going to happen. So I'm not saying that, you know, I'm saying the marijuana thing it's not going to be a big issue, but don't go out there and experiment with some of these hardcore drugs, because that will impact your opportunities. And right now we have a minimum 5-year waiting period for those hardcore drugs. And those are listed on our website. Actually, you can see them. The CPD is actually really 21st century. We've listed everything. The types of drugs are listed. The lapse of time before you experimented with them is listed. And we understand that people are going to go out there and try things. It's human nature. And we've tried to create opportunities for people that have made those mistakes, but don't suffer for their entire lifetime.
I have students who get very upset. With that being said, can I add to some things to that?
Please do.
As a commander, we look for this profession is not a job. I don't consider that as a job. It's a career. What I look for in officers are people that will set the example for others to follow. For an example, I going out and we all have social lives, right? But if you go out and you party and you start drinking and things like that and get behind the wheel of a car, and then you go to work and you pull people over, that's two different standards, right? So I don't want the folks to lead that. I want them to be examples, role models for young people, because when I came here, that's the only reason why I became a police officer, is because I had a role model as a police officer. You started me into this business. I wasn't destined to be a police officer. I probably would be in jail right now if it wasn't for a police officer, honestly. And so it's not just a job that is a Monday through Friday. It's a commitment to the community, the people that you have been entrusted to serve, right? They pay the salary. They look for a level of respect, a level of dignity, customer service. This is a customer service business. I'm not saying the customer's always right. That's why we have jails, right? But we still have that level of commitment, a level of service that we have to uphold. And in this position that's by setting that example for young people and others to follow. People that look like me, right? I wasn't supposed to be here, let's put it that way. But I've been fortunate to find an officer that took me under his wing, had that care, showed me respect, because I was on the other side of the tracks, if you know what I'm talking about. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. When I got here, I didn't have a college degree. I had to work for that, right? And so if you are willing to invest in it, you'll get a better return. And that sets the example for others to lead and come behind you. You found it, Lieutenant?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I didn't find it. Doesn't list on the website. It is a couple thousand though. It's a fairly good amount. And if Gigi, if you could get me the name and contact for that student, I will gladly get that information to them.
Thanks. And it's actually one of the comments I wanted to say was that I have students get very upset with me when they hear that Centera Martha Jefferson Hospital will not take candidates who smoke cigarettes. You know, they say no caffeine, and if you smoke cigarettes, we'll test you for the caffeine in your blood, and you're not getting a job here. And I have students who get very upset about that.
Well, we have to, I will speak out. You know, firefighters and police officers are eligible for the heart and lung benefit. And it's mandatory for us not to smoke. Now, you know, you have to sign a form when you get hired with the city of Charlottesville not to smoke, because if you smoke all the time, how are we going to know if your health issues were related to your smoking off duty or your exposure on duty? So I would say you still have the opportunity to stop. We're not going to tell you can't apply for us if you smoke. We're just going to ask you is when you hire, that's one of the forms that Sergeant Handy will have you fill out, is that you understand that you can't smoke and chew tobacco products, you know, as part of your hiring. Now, that said, I'm not going to hide in the woods at your house to see what you're doing every night, but I'm just saying that that's ownership that you're saying you're going to do when you take on this job. It's important because the benefits you receive, disability benefits, are way above other professions in the city of Charlottesville, and you wouldn't want to mess that up. You know, we've had people that have had to retire in the line of duty, and they get that benefit for life. So, you know, it could be high blood pressure, hypertension, or whatever that's related to stress that you may accumulate over time with this profession. So it's important that you maintain your wellness and health.
I do have another question. I know our time is getting short, so this one is a good one, and especially for me to know. So what about moral interpretive charges for the young and dumb? Do you have career advisors at the station that can talk with them? And if they can't be a duty officer at first, do you have other roles at the police station, like administrative?
Go ahead, Russell.
We do. So we have several administrative positions. We have record specialist, which we're actually currently hiring for right now. We're in the process of filling those positions. It's a civilian position. It's not sworn. We have some admin positions. Once again, those are support roles. They're not sworn positions. And they're held to a different standard than the sworn positions. Once again, it all depends on your background, the offense that's committed, but there is a little bit more wiggle room on the civilian side than there is on the sworn side when it comes to those offenses.
Yeah. Thank you. And okay, so the audience, if you have any other questions, throw them in the Q&A or the chat. Or do you have other things you guys want to wrap up with? This was really informative to get a sense of what what you guys are seeking and your timeline.
I would just suggest that if anybody's interested, they go ahead and submit their application. There is an age requirement that you have to be 21 by the time you graduate from the academy. Academy graduation for this year will be in November. So as long as they're 21 by that time, that's fine.
November 21, 22 then, right?
21. No, for the July Academy.
July Academy, okay.
Right.
Okay.
We're trying to onboard people May, even into June. I understand that, there's going to be some type of graduation for the students, and we can work around that, but we like to have everybody on board and get them processed, around that May time, so they can get some exposure before they go to the academy. But yeah, we'll be having a couple of days on the field with practice days for the law fit test. Come on out. You can run the course, get an idea what it's like. Lieutenant Jones mentioned earlier that you can also see the video online. It's on YouTube. So yeah.
Right. There is another question. What would a sample schedule of working the beat look like?
So patrol has a 10-hour shift. It's 4 days on, 2 days off, and then it's 4 days on, 4 days off. The recruit coming in the door is probably going to work weekends, probably going to work nights. But as they move up with time, they'll have the opportunity to switch their days. But yes, it is a 10-hour day, 4 days on, 2 days off, 4 days on, 4 days off. And, Eric Thomas, he works patrol. He could probably speak more on that if need be.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm on daylight. So my hours are 7:30 to 5:30 every day. I got decent days. So, but like Sergeant Handy said, when you start out, you have some of the not the most ideal days. You will work weekends, different stuff, and where you need what I call the fun stuff. And I still love it. Your foot pursuits and all of it, the fun stuff, right? And then your evening shift guys, they work from 5 to 1 o'clock, Sunday through Thursday, and then on weekends, so we can have more coverage. They come in at 5 to 3. And midnights, the whole 7 days, they actually do 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. But patrol is where you're going to start. It's fun. You get your exposure. And that's currently where I'm at. And I love it. I love because I get, like today's it was a decent day outside for January. And I was walking the neighborhood, me and 2 other officers walking the neighborhood, talking to folks. Then outside is our office. So patrol is where it's at. There's, on TV, there's a lot of glamour for investigations, all that good stuff. But patrol is where all the fun stuff is. I can tell you that.
That's great. And you actually, Eric, you said the one thing that you said, well, the guys. And so what is the percentage of guys versus gals that you guys have on the force?
And Lieutenant Jones and Sergeant Handy may be able to speak on that more. We do have, female officers. I know on my shift alone, I have 2 female officers on my shift. And we like to encourage, minorities and females to apply and take on the job as a police officer. I know we have a female officer, a female recruit that's in the academy now. But, I would like to see more females, but that's one thing I do say that we probably lack our female officers. The Sergeant Handy, they can speak more about the actual numbers probably. But I said guys, but in this case, there were 2 other guys. But, we do have female officers.
And I think sometimes it becomes a false representation. Women can do this job. Absolutely, they can. And if there are any in this audience, I truly encourage you to come out here and look. Sometimes women have a better technique in diffusing situations, right? So there is a place for it, and we need women. We need minorities, right? We want equal representation of our community. And if you look like that community, we build more community trust, right? So if women are out there, minorities in this group, we want people like that. We want representation of our community. And
you want your police department to mirror the community. So yes.
That's right.
And you have Chief Brackney.
Our very first.
Yep, our very first. And if anybody in the audience wants to hear, she actually was great to do a presentation with PVCC, and I'm happy to send you the link to that presentation if you want to hear it from Chief Brackney or Charlotte Brackney's point of view. But yeah, I think she would love to see more women in the field as well. So any other last questions, any other last tips that you guys would like to share?
I would just say, like, you've got to take a leap of faith, and if you don't fill out an application, you're not gonna figure out if this is the career for you. I would encourage you to call us, put that application in. One of us will personally give you a phone call after we review your application. We'll discuss in further detail what the requirements are and what the selection process is like. We'll get to know you. We'll invite you out to participate in other parts of that first step of the process, and we'll help guide you along through the hiring process. We really hopefully we'll get some interest and excitement from PVCC. You got a new director out there, so I'm really excited about. And we really hope to connect with the community college and particularly the students, both in a partnership with internships and also hiring. It'd be nice to grow our own for a change. And that's what we seek as local candidates primarily. That's our first goal. And, reach out to us. Okay. I can tell you when I was in college, I didn't really know if I was going to end up in law enforcement. I did. I did attend a community college like all of y'all. And I transferred shortly after, but, give us an opportunity, and we'll meet with you. Come on out and we can sit down in the office here. Right now, with COVID, Zoom is the best way to do that right now. But we look forward to, your support, Gigi, and the college, and moving forward.
And if you have the heart to serve, you will fit in great in this community. It's all about what's in your heart. If you're willing to come out and be a servant first, right? That's what we're looking for. Wanting somebody to come out there and say, hey, I stand with you, not in front of you.
That's a really nice saying. Thank you. Well, thank you all for taking this time to join us today. This was so helpful, and I know the recording will be definitely appreciated by those who couldn't make it. And I'll keep promoting your opportunities. And when you all start to write along a program again, when that comes out, let me know, and I'll have some students check it out that way as well, because I do think this field draws a lot just because of all the great TV shows we have out there, but I think it's so different to actually get in the car, be with officers. And that's where I think the human perspective, the psychology and all of that really comes to life, is when you can actually be, I got a little chance to work in the emergency room when I was a first year in college, and it was such a eye-opening experience.